What is up, guys? Wagwan, it's your boy O'Day Osborne, and joining me in the studio, we have Miesha, the legend, the great Tate. How you doing, Miesha?
I appreciate that intro.
Yeah, look, I know your fight name is Cupcake, but I feel like you deserved to be Miesha, the great Tate.
Well, I appreciate that, but I also learned something already that I was wondering what Wagwan was, but you told me before we started, But
yeah,
that's cool.
A lot of people always ask me that, like, what does Wagwan mean? Even though I've said it in like 6 shows. So in Jamaica, in Patois, it's our language, it's called Patois. Wagwan means what's going on. Like wa means what, like what, and then guan is going on.
Oh, that's way too easy. You just blew my mind with that. Wait a minute, I just needed to read it. Wagwan.
Right, wa go on, like wa go on.
What's going on?
Like
yeah,
wa go on. Yeah,
too easy.
Right. Oh man, so living out here in beautiful, sunny Las Vegas, how do you like it?
Oh, I love living in Vegas. I feel like Vegas is whatever you make it. Like sometimes people look at me and they're like, how could you live in Las Vegas? Like they think that people who don't live here think that Vegas is
all the strip.
Yeah. Like that we live that life, like what they come here and do on a weekend and how they wreck themselves and can barely, make it to work on Monday. Or on their flight. That's how we live. It's like, no, that's it becomes like so easily accessible that it's just not even interesting anymore. You know? Like I don't even go down to the strip very often unless people are visiting.
No, you're absolutely right. Because my friends back in Wisconsin and Florida, they're like, oh man, how do you live in Vegas and go out every day or every weekend? I'm like, it's not. I barely go down there.
Yeah, it's not how people live in Las Vegas. You could not live like that. You wouldn't. That's not very sustainable.
Right. Oh man. And before we get, Chase, shout out to my man Chase, by the way, behind the camera. Chase, do you have that clip that I sent you from Miesha? It was like when she was supposed to do the show the first time.
You know what? Let me look for it, and then I'll get back to you when I have it.
All right, or I can find it. It doesn't really matter. But sorry to interrupt you.
No.
But yeah, so tell me what's up. What's up with you now? What's new? I know you have a kid now.
2.
2 kids.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, how is that?
Being a mom is awesome.
Yeah.
They have given me a whole different purpose in life. Like you think you understand life. And like I was talking to Michael Chiesa and I was like, do you think you're going to have kids with you and your wife? He's like, no, I don't think so. I don't think I'm really missing out. And I'm like, well, you are missing out, but you don't know what you're missing out on. So you don't have the perspective, and that's fine. Like people who don't want to have kids, cool. Like I get it. Not everybody can have kids in this world. Be too many people in this world.
It's true. And not just that, it'd be too many damn irresponsible people in this world. Not everybody should have kids.
Not everybody should have kids.
Honestly.
And if you're one of those people you don't think you should have kids, you probably shouldn't have kids.
Right. How is it? But how is it though? Does that get difficult at times balancing being a mom?
Hard. Oh my God. I got to give a big shout out to Micah.
Yeah.
Because we both work with Micah and is a mental coach at the UFC, and he has helped me tremendously about being present, and that has been a game changer for me. It's been a game changer.
Yeah.
And I had to figure I'm trying to figure things out since my last fight. I built this Ferrari engine of a body. There's just like wrecking shop during the training camp, and I felt so good and so strong, and I dropped down to 125 for the first time. Still proud that I can add that to the resume of things that I was able to do, because that was really hard. But the presence. So if I'm in practice, what do I want out of that moment? If I'm with my kids, what do I want out of that moment? If I'm hanging with you, what do I want out of that moment? Like, how do I work on being present? And it's still a work in progress because I get distracted like anybody else. But it's like when I'm thinking about something else and I'm here and I'm having this conversation, all of a sudden, or you're in practice, you start thinking about something else. It's like what he says, like grab the balloon, like grab it and bring it right back. Bring it back, like be right here now. And that's kind of what I felt like in my last fight. The balloon was like
all over the place.
It was. I couldn't even have sight of it, I don't think. I don't know where I was. Now, I just was not present. I had not made up my mind what I wanted in that moment, and that sounds really weird.
No, I get that. So can you explain to our audience what grabbing the balloon is?
Yeah, to the best of my ability. Of course, I'm not Micah. I wish he was here so he could give a breakdown. But essentially, the balloon symbolizes kind of your presence And if you let go of a balloon, it's going to float and drift off and go wherever, kind of unmaintained.
Yep.
And if you want to be present, you know, it's not that the mind will never lose focus, because that's the human brain. It's always going to lose focus. So people have trouble with meditation or being alone with themselves and quiet moments because they just want constant stimulation. But sometimes when you just simplify it, it just basically means that when you lose focus on what you're doing, you think of the symbolism of grabbing a balloon and having it right back there with you. When you have your balloon, you're there in that moment and you're focused on what you want to do. When you start losing focus, it's okay. Just how quickly can you realize you've lost focus and grab the balloon again and get back to what you're trying to do. And the better you get at that, the longer you can stay focused. And I think also the faster that you can like maintain that when you realize you've lost the focus.
That's amazing, because that's one of my hardest things at times especially when life happens, right?
Yeah.
A lot of fans or people that don't follow fighting don't really understand how much we have to take into that octagon sometimes. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And sometimes it's like, for me, being present is so hard because I'm worried about this, that, or the other thing.
Yes.
You know, and sometimes I have to calm myself, like, you know, be in a space of complete stoicism. That's the only way I can be a successful fighter for me is, okay, you know what? It's fight time. I got to be stoic and forget about all the other stuff. Otherwise, my balloon is like all over the place.
All over the place. Everybody's, you know, and it's what ifs, because we get stuck sometimes in the past, basing things that have happened in the past on what's going to happen in the future. And what happens is we're living in two places that don't exist right now.
It's true.
Right?
It's true. And one of them being Instagram.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's a place that's not always authentic and real to, especially like this moment, which you want right here, right now. These people are living these fabricated lives, and it's imagery.
Yeah.
So I do encourage people not to get too caught up in social media and what that really translates to in life is not very accurate, in my opinion. But we do have to remember that, right? That we can't live in the past. If you find yourself dwelling on the past, right? Sometimes then you're creating anxiety for the future and you're missing out on the now.
You're such a good inspirational woman. You know what I'm saying? I think the world needs more of that. You know, you've always been like that too. And I love that about you. You know, you inspire so many people. And the world needs more people, especially younger women in this generation. They're looking towards the Cardi B's and the Kim Kardashians and the women that, you know, they have all the confidence in the world. Don't get me wrong. I think a lot of young women, you know, that I noticed too, because I was a teacher, a lot of young girls, they love women with confidence. Unfortunately, a lot of the women with confidence that they love are not setting the best example for them. So I encourage all the younger women to follow women like you know, who are successful in the right way, you know, because that's what life is about. It's not living your life in a fake lens. You know, it's taking time to be present and stuff that you talk about, which I think is amazing.
Well, thank you. I know, you know, to give some context, we've had some pretty cool and unique and deep conversations, you know, in the sauna after, you know, we just got hammered with strength and conditioning, you know what I mean? And we're just in there like trying to get through 20 minutes of, you know, hanging out in the heat.
For real. And that was, no, I was just going to say that. And that was one of the first times. It's so crazy. Like, I've had more conversations with you in the sauna than I think. That's where we really go like deep. You know what I'm saying? I think sometimes too, it's easier to talk in an environment where it's like enclosed and you know what I mean? You're sweating and you don't have, you know, all the...
Take your mind off of it too, you know? Because sometimes it's hard to stick out that 20 minutes in the sauna, for sure.
It's so hard. It's so hard. And, you know, I remember the first time that I moved here, it was about a year and a half ago.
Okay.
And I was struggling so hard with sleep. I was struggling. You know, I had a fight coming up and, you know, I was still on my first contract, actually. I had a fight coming up, still my first contract. And I was just like, man, you know, I lose this fight. I don't know what's going to happen. You know, it was only about my fourth fight in the UFC. I'm like, man, I was 2-1 or 1-2. And I'm just like, you know, man, I lose this fight. I don't know what's going to happen. And I'm just so much in my own head all the time, every day, you know, and you told me, you're like, you have control of your own thoughts. You know, you're not sleeping because you are making yourself relentless and not sleeping. And your words encouraging me, you know, before that fight, I was like, man, this girl is amazing. And what I didn't tell you was I was always a huge fan of yours. So when you spoke to me about, you know, helping me generate my sleep and brain tap, which we'll get into, and you told me all about brain tap and ways I can improve my sleep and my health and stuff like that, I was like, man, I always thought you were this like no joke. I've been watching you since like high school. Like I've always thought you were just this amazing fighter in and outside of the octagon. And when I first met you, because sometimes you meet people and they just let you down and you're like, okay, well, this person isn't like I thought they were going to be. Right. And I met you and you were greater than I thought you were going to be, you know, and because I was watching you from when you were fighting, was it Meiju, Hitomi?
Yeah, Mayu Kajala, Hitomi
Yeah,
Kano.
Oh my gosh, you undefeated. Then you went and you fought, I forgot who it was, but then it spiraled you to getting that fight with Holly Holm, which was like, for me, well, I've been a fan of you for the longest, you know, so it was like, I was like living vicariously through you. And I was just like, when you won that title, I was amazed, man. I was like, Chase, do you have that footage?
Of the title? Of the injury?
No, the clip that I sent you before.
I don't have that one.
Oh, but you have
I have the other one.
All right, that's fine. That's which injury? You know what? Let's play it.
Okay, see what it is. You guys can talk about it.
Let's see what comes up.
We're on a different page today, you know?
Right. My point is, you know, because I've been such a this is the one. Yes. Okay. The wellness. Because I've been such a huge fan. I'll tell you, it's like, give me 1 second, Chase.
Yeah.
Because I've been such a huge fan, and you know, the stuff that you gave me, it actually helped me so much. And ended up winning my fight. And now from 4 fights, now I have 7 fights, 3 about to be on my 3rd contract, you know, and been going to your wellness center, and that's been such a huge impact on me. And I wanted to share that with everyone watching, to show you guys all that Miesha has been doing outside of the octagon, helping other fighters and people throughout their day-to-day life. So Chase, can you play that for me, please?
Hello. How are you?
Oh, you're good. That's my girl, Tracy. Miss Tracy Lee, she's an OG too. She used to be taking
Hi. Welcome back.
Back in Strikeforce days in the UFC before they gave it over to Getty Images or whatever. She was there cage side taking pictures. She took that picture too, by the way.
Really?
Went on the desert. Yeah, the Elephant Rock, they call it. Oh, that's badass. Very cool. Thank you for sharing that.
Yes, of course, you know. And for those of you guys that don't know, you know, brain tap, when Miesha first told me about brain tap, right, I was having such a hard time sleeping. And she told me about this thing like brain tap, and I was like, brain tap? I'm like, none of that's gonna help. I'm like, my brain is too powerful. I am not gonna sleep. She's like, no.
Wait, hold on. First of all, when we first met, because I was gonna chime in on that. When we first met, I mean, I didn't know who you were. I mean, I knew you fought in the UFC or whatnot, but I wasn't super familiar, and I just remember like butting myself into your conversation because I heard you talking about like sleep or whatever, and I was like, dude, I can't help myself. Like if I know something or whatever, and I'll show you my sleep scores in a second. But Oura ring, I'll make you real joy. Do you have an Oura ring? Do you wear
I don't
one?
wear it. No, I'm like, I purposely don't wear it because it tells me if I'm in the red, if I'm not having good sleep, and I don't like that.
Well, at least wear it maybe when you're off, like right now, like camp or whatever, and that way you can see if some things are helping your sleep. Because knowledge is always power. You don't always have to look at it, but even if it's documented and you go back or you have make notes and say, oh, you know, I did hyperbarics today, I slept better, or I did brain tap today. Is there a correlation? Or, you know, whatever it is, these new things you're trying, sometimes you can see if they move the needle.
And that's my problem. I need to be more like that instead of being more like out of sight, out of mind.
Right. Well, sometimes we don't like what we're seeing or hearing, right? And especially if I know it can be really annoying with the Oura ring. Sometimes it's like, you're not ready, you're not ready, you're not ready. And I think there's knowledge, but there's also like how you feel. So you can't like take it too heavily what it's telling you. But anyways, I remember just butting in on that conversation and just being like, like just don't make it something you don't enjoy. Like fighting, you know what I mean? Like, and that power that you have over your mind, like to quiet your mind, some breath work, those things. And then just kind of like kept in touch with you and brought you over to Desert Moon Wellness, stuck you in a hyperbaric chamber. And you were like, and you were so tired. Like you walked in and you looked like shit. Like you were so tired. I mean, your eyes, like you look like my 2-year-old when he did not nap that day and it's like bedtime.
I was done for.
Oh, you were done. You were like, I can only sleep in my bed. And your eyes were like half open. And I was like, let's just get in there, put this headset on and we'll see what happens. You passed out.
I was like a baby. I like curled up into a ball too. I was just like, I was out there like this.
Yeah, you were. I think I have some, I don't know if I ever sent you that footage, but I have some stuff where I was like sneaking in the chamber, like taking video of you, like not in the chamber, but like through the windows. So where was I going with that? So anyways, I was really happy to see that you went in there and you experienced that and you came out and you were just like, oh man, and you went home and you listened to your body. I was so proud of you because you were like, oh, I think I'm going to go, do another really, really hard training. And I was like, you got to remember, like you are the CEO, you're the boss, all these coaches, great. I love the support, but you are you at the end of the day, and you're the only one who knows like the level of work that you're putting out. And I think you went home and you just slept for like 5 hours.
I did. I passed out, and this was after I had been running. So I'm running Mount Charleston on the weekend, doing my sprints on Wednesdays. But the problem I was having is that I was just not like my brain was just like, and so I was just not. It's either I would sleep for an hour or two and then wake up and then just can't go back to sleep, or I would just not sleep as well. And after I went into that chamber and put that brain tap device on, it just made my brain kind of focus on something else. And it took me off into the distance. Yeah. And I was out. Like I woke up. It's so crazy because I woke up and I felt like I was like not here. Like I felt so heavy.
Like in another universe, right? You're like, what just happened? I remember the first time that I fell asleep I used the brain tap to fall asleep. And I literally went like comatose. Yes. So like I have like sort of a sleep rhythm. I think most people do. You fall asleep and then you have moments where you kind of remember like waking up a little bit at night, or you go in and out of like these states of sleep when you're in a lighter sleep phase. I didn't have that lighter sleep phase. I was just like somebody drugged me REM until like 3 or 4 in the morning. And I kind of remember waking up like the headset was like still half like was like on my eye instead of and I was just like, and I kind of like, what? Because I knew a lot of time had gone by and I was like, this is a trip. I don't know what just happened, but I think I just went somewhere else. Like, I don't know if I was in this body even anymore.
So I want to ask 2 questions. My first question is, how did you get into that? And my next question is, can you explain, because I've had people hit me up on my DMs like, hey, what is this brain tap stuff? So can you explain a little bit more for our viewers what brain tap is and talk about how you got into that, how you discovered brain tap?
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, I brought the headset because I had a feeling that you were going to ask me about this.
Yes, I was. Oh, man.
By the way, I'm not sponsored by Brain Tap or anything. I wish that I was. I do want to collaborate with them because I want to be a voice on Brain Tap.
They're going to be listening to this podcast because I messaged them and told them.
Because this is the device. I really believe in the product. I carry it in my wellness center. That away a little bit. And basically, when you turn this on, these little lights light up in the ears, and the visor drops down over your eyes. And how I understand this is it's all based on neuroscience. So your eyes are actually the only part of your brain that are exterior. So they're a part of your brain and a huge part of the way that we receive information. So the sound waves and the light waves are specifically formulated to calm the busy part of your brain down, the part that you were saying that you were stuck in.
Yes.
basically.
Yes.
Like it's called, it's fight or flight. It's like you just got a lot going on, and it's so hard to unplug. Everything that we do these days is about being plugged in.
Yes.
It's go, go, go.
Especially with social media, you're so plugged into these reels
all the time.
Scrolling and scrolling and
stimulation,
scrolling.
constant dopamine hit. So we are on overdrive as it is. I mean, if you think of a simpler time before that there was ever any electronics and those things, our brains wouldn't have to process as much as they do these days. But because social media and the accessibility, or everyone can reach us at all times, like we have all the stimulation and input coming in. So now our brains a lot of times get stuck in that go, go, go. We don't really ever focus on the unplug. How do we do that?
Yeah.
How do we unplug? Nobody really teaches you that. Like go to sleep. Well, yeah, but what if you're so chronically stuck in a state of fight or flight? You have nervous system dysregulation at that point, meaning one is overdoing the job and the other one's like basically weak. It would be like if you didn't work out a muscle group. You know, like imagine if you did a whole training camp and you just didn't use your legs the whole time.
My legs look like I don't use them. They're like, they look like I don't use them. I'm built like a Dorito, if you notice.
I have noticed. I've done strength and conditioning with you. This is definitely like,
yeah, like a popsicle stick.
So, you know, but this is an amazing unplug. So for people who are not good at meditating, I know so many people who are like, I just can't meditate. Yeah, because that would be like all of a sudden just trying to run a marathon. For the sake of example, it's like it takes a skill set. It takes a lot of practice to get there. This makes it easy because you put that on. There's like next time you put it on, listen, and it just kind of like woo, 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 woo. Like there's this little undertone. Those are the frequencies, sound frequencies, and then the lights also coordinate with that. So it actually puts you in this meditative sort of trance.
It almost hypnotizes you to fall asleep.
Yeah. So it's like hypnotism and meditation. Had a baby and made it on a headset that you can put on and like do it with ease. So for me,
hypnotation.
Hypnotation. Oh, I like that. Is that trademarks?
We might as well. I'm telling you, I went in there and I was like, I didn't know what to expect. You know what I mean? Like immediately I was kind of grumpy and groggy because I haven't been sleeping. So immediately I was like negative, like this isn't going to work.
Yeah. I know. You came in and you were like, I have them and you're like, I can't sleep anywhere but my bed. Like, this is,
and I could barely sleep there. Yeah. You know?
But you went out.
I was out. I was out.
So this is really amazing for at any time during the day or when you go to sleep. I'm a huge fan. You'll hear mostly it's Dr. Porter getting on there and he'll speak to you. And sometimes there's two voices going at once, which can be like, whoa, kind of like stimulating. But then again, it keeps that conscious part of your brain busy and active. But the subconscious then gets a chance to actually be present and receive some information, which is really helpful. So even if you fall asleep during, right, it's still like you're receiving that positive. And what's so cool about it is if you go on the app, you'll see there's all different kinds of things that it targets.
They have an app too?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. I did not know that.
So the app is actually free. You can go on there, I believe, and you can, I think there's maybe a trial. I can't remember. I don't know for sure. But you can listen to it on a regular headset. You can do those brain tap meditations on a regular headset. It's just that it's not going to be as effective in training your brainwaves. So they call it brain fitness for a reason, because it's actually training your brainwaves. So a lot of times we walk around and people operate in primarily delta brainwave, which is like a slow brainwave. It's something that you want when you're sleeping, not really what you want when you're awake, because it's a sign that your brain is tired, it's over fatigued, and you're kind of spacey. If you're the person
groggy,
who's
spacey,
forgetting where you put things, you don't know where your phone is, it's hard for you to focus. Chances are you're probably operating in a brainwave that's not very good for being focused here and now. So that is what Brain Tap helps us do, is operate in other brain waves like alpha, theta, you know, and when you get those more present more regularly, the brain can do it on its own, you know, without the headset. But it's just like, you know, like going to the gym and working out. I feel like that's always the easiest example, you know, it's like
most definitely
it gets easier the more that you practice it. So brain fitness is a thing.
I love that. And not just that, I love that you explained it, because I had no idea how it worked. I just knew it worked. And I was like, I don't know what this is, but hey, it worked, man. And I love that you said too, like they're not sponsoring you because, you know, you have people that are always like, oh, she's just promoting it because, you know, they're sponsoring her. You know what I mean?
I really believe in the product. Like we carry it at Desert Moon Wellness. Like this is something I think more people could really benefit from. And that's why I say you can just use a regular headset and like it's a monthly membership. But I'm telling you, the sound waves and the light waves from this really make it way more effective, but the meditations are still good, like still good words to listen to. Either way.
And for those of you guys listening, you know, we always spend money on things that don't matter as much. Like how much, you know what I mean? We go out to the casino, we buy alcohol, we buy junk food. You know, you can spend
alcohol.
Yeah, you could spend however much per month. I don't know what the membership is per month.
I don't know either.
But it's probably not anything ridiculous. You know what I'm saying? For our health, I believe that we should invest into our health more often than not, because we're so used to, you know, oh, you know what, that's a membership for that much a month. Nah, I'm not doing that. But we're gonna go out and drink once a week, every week. $9.99, guys. You guys can afford $9.99 a month to benefit your health and start investing in your health. That's a big thing that we don't do as much, is invest in our health. And we need to start investing into the things that is going to make us, you know, conducive to our health.
Absolutely.
But how did you get connected with this, by the way? How did you find out about BrainTap?
So I went to a biohacking conference, Dave Asprey's conference last September. And that's where I really started to delve into the world beyond wellness. So I had been a biohacker for a long time, which is kind of a crazy term and it sounds really intimidating, but it's basically just somebody who's trying to understand how to hack their own body and brain and spiritually, all the different things and it's anti-aging and longevity kind of combined. But for me, I look at it as performance. Like, not just in the octagon, not just as an athlete, but like, wouldn't we all want to perform our best in life?
100%.
Life is a performance. It's one big giant performance. Like, let's all try to do our best while we are. And that's the other thing. It brings me back into what you were just talking about, being a mother and how I balance those things. Like taking 20 minutes for myself for BrainTap makes me a better mother. It makes me a better wife. It makes me a better fighter. It makes me, because I can learn to be more present and also have those moments where I put myself first. I always love that analogy, you know, when the oxygen mask comes down, you put it on yourself first. Why? Because if you pass the fuck out, you're not helping anybody, right? If you bite the dust, like if you're shitty attitude all day, like you're not of service to anybody else. You can't help anybody else. So for me, it's like I realize that if I charge my own battery first, I'm going to have a lot more to give to everybody else.
Your kids, your husband, your training, all of that. You've seen those memes where, you know, you got the mom with the vacuum and she has the baby in her hands and she's like, her nose is running and she's like, just vacuuming at the same time.
Oh, so brutal. And you know, women tend to put everyone else first a lot of times. This is like a chronic issue. So I was reading this, actually was watching it, an interview, and they said that it was from Dr. Amen that men who get married typically live longer than men who stay single. But women who get married typically live shorter lives than women who stay single. And you know why? Because we're reining y'all asses in, trying to be like, guys, you know, but it's...
I can see that, actually.
Right?
I can definitely see that.
It's a woman's nature to kind of be of service to everyone else and not always reflect on herself and like how she can actually be the best. But when she's the best, when she's supported, then she's that much better for everybody else. So it's kind of like realizing, which is a hard thing to understand, because sometimes we spend our currency like it's never going to run out, but we don't realize we're going into debt with our bodies.
It's true.
Like, we're going to have to pay it at some point and with interest.
It's true. And when we get to a certain age, you know, by then, if you're not adding on to those foundations, when you get to that certain age, you're like, oh man, shit, I'm here now, and it's almost too late because my brain is just like going at 100 miles an hour, and I don't know how to slow it down. So we have to.
If you're not sick, or have cancer, or have diabetes, or have something else. And it's so sad because a lot of times people are waiting for that retirement age so they can finally start living life.
This is true.
Right? And by that time, they've already spent it all. Just about to where they're sick, they're on medications, they're not well to travel. It's like, I don't think pain was ever meant to be a lifestyle, personally.
No, of course not. Of course not.
And our society kind of sets us up that way to just drive ourselves in the ground and just, but I'm just like, what is all of this? Like, where did we ever miss the point of what actually life was meant to be enjoyed?
Yeah.
So if you're not enjoying your life, you might want to start asking some deeper questions and like, how can you enjoy moments in time? Because we're not always going to enjoy every part of our life. Let's be honest. Like sometimes we go to practice and just like, oh, it's terrible, right?
Yeah.
I mean, or struggling to sleep or whatever it is. But if we can slowly overcome just maybe one little thing here and there, if we can get consistent about one thing that we do for ourselves, even if it's just like one breath.
Discipline.
Yeah, one breath that we give to ourselves every day. 3 actually is scientifically shown to calm down your fight or flight response, what you're stuck into. So 3 deep breaths will put you back into a parasympathetic state. And just that alone, like, can we spare 3 deep breaths?
Yes.
Can we do that? Like, can everybody do that? Because I think we'd all be a little bit better.
No, I love that because I realize the more life that I live, meaning the older I get, the more I find it harder to get off that roller coaster. Because I have way more responsibilities, way more tasks. I have a goal, a mark that I want to hit.
Yeah.
But like you said, I need those moments where I have to put the oxygen mask on myself first and realize I can't hit my marks if I don't feed me first.
Yeah.
Feed me first, because when I'm going 100 miles, and it's like being in a hole, right? It's like I don't realize I'm in a hole until I get out the hole and look around. I'm like, holy shit, I was in this hole for damn near 6 months.
Yeah.
But when you're in the hole, you're just like, you have.
Sometimes you're just so busy digging.
Yeah, that's true.
You're just digging yourself in that hole. You don't even know that you lost the light. It's getting dark in there. Like it's getting grim,
That's so true. That's so true.
Yeah.
And I love that you were able to be on here talking about this because, like I said, we need more of this. And I know the UFC is such a entertainment business and a sport where, you talk shit and, violence and stuff like that. But I love that the UFC has a platform for everybody. You know what I mean? There's a stage for people like you. There's a stage for the Connors. There's a stage for the Stricklands. There's a stage for, you know what I'm saying? And I love that. What is next for you after fighting, do you think? Because I feel like you definitely should go into some kind of, I don't know, where you're like helping people, I guess, boost their mental fortitude or building their self-efficacy.
Yeah, that's a great question. And on a note, what you were just saying before I answer that question, I do want anyone in the UFC who's listening right now to know that Micah is paid for by the UFC. Like if you are having any, which we all could improve, like you don't even have to wait until there's a problem to tackle it so that you could be better before you even get there, right?
Shout out to Micah.
Micah is awesome.
He is.
Schedule with him. I think right now he's only available 2 days a week. If I have it my way, I'm going to get the UFC hiring that man 5 days a week and everybody's going to have access to him.
Yes.
He's awesome. So take advantage of that. And then what I want to do post-fighting, I think I'm wrapping up my career this year.
Really?
I think this is
man, you hear that, guys? She's announcing that on my show.
I know.
I get the news first. Oh, man, I can't believe that. It's almost like, it's sad because, like I said, it was almost like I've been through your journey, through your entire career. Like I said, I was always a Miesha fan. Like I don't know if I'll cut this yet, but I was never a fan of Ronda. I was, you know what I'm saying? I loved your attitude and your personality and everything that you did more so outside of the octagon. That's what made me a fan of you. It wasn't what you did inside, which inside was incredible. Don't get me, you know what I mean?
Thank you.
But I loved your personality, your drive, all that shit, man. It was amazing. It was amazing because I was always into like people who are motivating in the right way.
Right.
I needed that. So I was like, it was like food for me. I was like, oh man, give me more motivating people. So
I really appreciate that. So it's a very kind compliment, and I'm working on. I'm a work in progress,
Yes.
and I've really realized that as the fighting chapter closes, it's one part of what I do, but I know I have so much more to offer. You know,
I
I
love
know
that.
that I have so much more to offer, and I'm really passionate about wanting to help people. So that's part of the reason why I opened Desert Moon Wellness. And, you know, just having the conversations that you and I have, and just realizing that there's a lot of people out there who are burning the candle at both ends and the middle. You know, they've just snapped that candle in two and they lit it from the center point too, you know?
Yeah, I know.
Woo, that's not sustainable. And you know what? I was there.
I was just about to say that.
It was
just
me.
about to say that.
I was there and I burnt out and I hit the bottom hard.
Yeah.
And I knew I had to do something different because it was just to the point where I didn't want to be here anymore.
Yeah.
It was hard. So, you know, a lot of athletes identify as what they do. They don't necessarily have, and that's where it gets so scary too, because it's like, oh, if I lose this next fight, you know, what does that mean? Well, if I don't have this, I don't know what or who I am beyond that. And that can also be anyone in life. I mean, anything that people really strongly identify with, like, oh, this is what I do is who I am. We have to understand there's a difference between what I do and who I am.
Oh, that is powerful right there. That is really powerful. I think that fine line that we don't acknowledge enough. You know, we always, when I say we, I mean myself included, I've done this before where I've become what I wanted to do. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
I've become the thing that I want to do, and I'm not what I'm doing. It's just what I'm doing.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
And it's not that there's not power in that, because we see people do great things when they become what they do, you know, Olympic gold medalists and things. But the problem is those are not healthy skill sets to live a normal life. So what happens when that chapter closes? That's where it becomes an issue. So I think the earlier that we can instill in people is that there is a difference in what they do versus, you know,
Who they are. Yes.
Then if what they do doesn't work out or they fall short or they're still learning, they still know who they are.
I love that. I
Right?
love that.
That's where the deep-seated
Yes.
confidence comes in. And I wish that I would have known that earlier in my career, but it wasn't until I was forced to retire, basically. I thought I was retired for almost 5 years.
Yeah.
And I had 2 kids, and I started to reinvent, not reinvent the wheel, but like who I am.
Who you are.
Well, I
Yeah.
started to really ask all those deep questions,
Yeah.
and I soul searched for those years, and I took that time, and I realized like I have a greater purpose than just going out there and fighting people. And I've loved that so much. But I am going to help people.
I love
now instead
that.
of breaking people, I'm going to start fixing them.
No, I love that. I love that because a lot of times we become so wrapped up in what we're doing, like fighting. You know what I'm saying? You get all the fans and the hype, and you know it's a big ego and confidence boost.
Yep.
So it's easy to lose yourself in who you are. You know what I'm saying? All of a sudden you're like, yeah, this is me. I'm Ode Osborne, the UFC fighter.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly, right? How you identify. And you know what, Ode, winning is easy. It's not that it's not hard work, but winning is easy because everything is going right. You don't really have to look internally until you lose.
Ah, that is dope.
Right? And losing
that's dope.
is hard because losing means that you don't have the option to just be where you are. It's like you got to figure out, you got to change something, right? So you got to look inside and figure out what that is.
And not only that, but I think a lot of us feel like losing is not getting what we want or not getting where we want when we want.
Yes.
That's
Perspective.
It's perspective. It's completely perspective. You know what I'm saying? Because look at you, right? You didn't get the belt until later on, which is, you never stopped trying. You weren't like, oh man, I didn't get a belt.
10 years.
10 years. And if you didn't get a belt, you still was a winner. You know what I'm saying? You know how many girls can say that they've fought at the highest level and accomplished the things that you accomplished? There's not many. There's not many. And your victory over Holly Holm, you could feel how emotional and excited you were. Hey, yo, I swear to you, that one was like, when you won that, man, I swear, there might have been some dust in my eyes. I was like, yo, it sent like chills because...
Where were you?
I don't even remember where I was. I just
remember.
Because it's like... You've been trying so hard, working so hard to accomplish that. And you know what I mean? There were times where it was like, okay, Miesha, she may not be a champion, you know what I mean? But she did accomplish anything. And you were like, no, my moment's not done yet. My moment's not done yet. And you went out there and you finally put the stamp on it, and after everything you've been working for, became the UFC bantamweight champion. That was amazing.
Such a good feeling. You know, when it works out, it just feels damn good.
Yeah.
I will never forget that moment.
Yeah.
Every time I watch it, it's like, oh, my heart rate definitely went up a little bit.
Yeah,
there.
because you can see too, even when that choke, you know, you put everything into that choke. You were just like squeezing
everything.
You held on for dear life, and even when she flipped you were like, "I'm not going out.
No,
I'm not letting go.
I'm not letting go. Like a dog on a bone.
Yeah, you were
It's
not
mine.
letting go. That
Taking
was
her home.
amazing. That was awesome.
So, you're asking me. I think that that's a great segue in the sense it's like, you know, I'm not done yet. Like, I'm still not done yet. I might wrap up the fighting career, but I'm not done making my mark on the world. I will definitely be looking to do more things in comprehensive healing and wellness and performance, because it's never just one thing. You know, we talked about brain tap.
Yeah.
We also talked about hyperbaric oxygen therapy. When you went in the hyperbaric chamber, I'd like to break down a little bit what that is for people. It's a capsule, essentially, whether it's a soft shell or a hard shell.
Yeah.
You go inside and it's pressure. So we're adding pressure. A lot of people think that there is less oxygen at the top of Mount Everest than there is at sea level. It's not true. It's 21% regardless of how high you are at altitude. And there's less pressure. That's why it's harder to breathe at altitude.
I see.
So
It's
when
the
we
pressure.
add pressure, right, the oxygen molecule gets smaller. It means we can fit it into not only your blood cells, but your blood plasma. And your blood plasma, when you get a lot of oxygen in that, boom, we are facilitating
There we go.
healing.
Yeah.
Because think about this, O'Day. I think I've talked to you about this before. But we focus on what? Our supplements, our sleep, how we work out, you know, all these things, organic food, whatever.
Yep.
But how long can you go without breathing?
Not very long.
Not very long at all.
Shit.
Why? Because your cells primarily rely on oxygen. It's the most important thing we consume on a regular basis.
Wow.
Over 2,300 breaths a day.
Yeah.
You know what I
Did
mean?
your research 2,300? I didn't. Wow.
Because that's a lot of breathing, right?
2,300
This is why I also think breath work is very important and
Yeah.
it's very powerful. But when you get into a hyperbaric chamber, basically we're taking you below sea level. We're adding pressure to the oxygen.
How much? How do I say this? How many feet below sea level are you going when you're in this hyperbaric chamber? Do you know?
Was 9 feet for 1.3.
Okay.
And we go all the way up to 2.2, which I would have to do the math on that and those numbers. But just depending what you're trying to target. I mean, at those deeper levels, you can have stem cell mobilization. You can increase bone marrow production. You can really do incredible things. The first 2 weeks of us being open, we had a woman come in who had a mommy makeover, and her surgery went really long because the surgeon couldn't reestablish blood flow to her nipple. Her nipple was like black as your shirt.
Damn.
It was dead. Like it was definitely well on its way to being dead. And he poked it like 20 times trying to find any sign that there was any blood flow. Nothing but plasma coming out of there. So she came in, she found us because he said, we're going to have to take the nipple off. Her husband's like, whoa.
Not the nipple.
Guys,
don't touch the nipple.
Okay, so she found us. And after her first hyperbaric chamber treatment, she came out and she had noticeable pink back in her nipple. That was really cool because we don't usually get to see that from the outside. Like, we know the science, but you know, it's like unless somebody can see it happen, sometimes we just don't get that treat always.
Yeah.
But what happened basically is that we oxygenated the plasma, the liquid that the blood cells lives in. And so the blood cells didn't really have a pathway there, but the liquid will go anywhere, right? So it seeped into that tissue and delivered oxygen for this oxygen-starved tissue. And then, angiogenesis can happen, which is the growth of new blood vessels, right? And all that can be facilitated, but
Blood
it needed
flow.
oxygen first.
In order for the blood to flow.
Exactly.
Got it.
So this is what happens with chronic inflammation and things like this. Sometimes with traumatic brain injuries, we see this all the time where blood flow is impeded. So when you go in the chamber, you're hyperoxygenating, you're getting oxygen to tissue, even if blood flow itself is slowed down or sometimes pretty well blocked. And the other cool thing is when you come out of pressure, so think about the oxygen molecules being so tiny and compressed. So there's a lot of them in there. So when you come out, they want to expand. It means that they need to like get out, and they're going to get out into those tissues rapidly. For about 4 hours, you see a benefit of that. So think about if you had a hose and you have it at normal pressure and you're able to water this corner of the grass, and then maybe you kink it and then you let it go and it disperses a lot more. Why? Because pressure's been built up, right? So now you're watering different parts of the grass that couldn't get water at normal pressure. So when we do that and we put you under pressure and then you come out, the capillaries deliver oxygen at normally a range that's normal to our atmospheric pressure.
Mm-hmm.
But they can deliver that oxygen about 4 times the distance.
Wow.
By just simply coming out from pressure.
Yeah.
Because all that oxygen, the pressure is being alleviated, and so much of the oxygen is in there that those capillaries now have pressure behind them to be able to disperse that oxygen. So you have injuries, right, that happen. It's like people like their back, their wrist, and you hear doctors say it's going to take a long time to heal because you don't get a lot of blood flow to that area.
Right. So this brings blood flow to the
and it
areas
brings
that
oxygen to those areas because that's the primary job of our blood cells. That's a primary job is to deliver oxygen.
Yeah.
But if they can't really get in there, or if it's just hard, right? If oxygen is not being delivered at a good rate, then healing is going to take a long time.
That's incredible, man. That is incredible, guys. Hey, if you haven't already checked out Desert Wellness, please do me a favor. Doesn't matter if you're a fighter. You can be a stay-at-home mom, a stay-at-home dad, whatever. If you have any issues sleeping, any issues with your back, any injuries,
pre or post-op surgery is always great too.
Post-op surgery,
yeah.
Oh my goodness.
All
so Miesha, tell our listeners where they can find physically Desert Wellness
Moon Wellness.
Sorry, Desert Moon Wellness.
Yep.
And on social media where they can find Desert Moon Wellness.
So on Instagram, we're at Desert Moon Wellness LV. I think that's standard for us across the board.
Okay.
And we are, if you're in Las Vegas, we're off the 215 by the IKEA. I think there's only one IKEA in Vegas, right?
Yeah.
So
everybody knows about the IKEA.
It's close to the UFC Performance Institute, just down the street. And we're happy to help. These aren't our only modalities as well. We do have red light therapy. We do other wellness testing as well, like so for hormones and things. So people want to know, if the testosterone or estrogen or these different hormones are good. We also do testing for food allergies, food sensitivities.
Okay.
And then we have NeuroCheck, which is a really cool, comprehensive way to see if what we're doing works, if it's working, right? Because sometimes people need a deeper dive.
It's true. And guys, if you need a guinea pig, or if you need a deeper dive, or if you need to know if it's working, use me as your test study.
We've already started.
I've done this, and let me tell you, it works. I've done it. So you guys can use me. I'm not sponsored by Miesha. I'm not sponsored by BrainTap. I'm not sponsored by anybody. I'm just telling you guys right now, I went there one day not thinking it was going to work. And to my surprise, it was amazing and it was incredible. I went back. And when I start my camp, I'm going to be going again.
I love it.
And
that's what we need is those genuine testimonials. There's just no other reason to be sharing the word than to help people to understand that these are available. And I don't think hyperbaric oxygen therapy should be a foreign thing. So many people don't know what it is. And I'm like, we should be because the reason why is like, again, if we were living back in a day when we didn't have to process so many things, our brain is running full speed at so much of the day that we have to do things now on the back end to be able to keep up with the pace of life, the demand. 100%. I mean, if you're a single parent or if you're, working full time and you're a mom or your dad and you're doing all these things and you're just exhausted, time to put the mask on, like time to serve yourself first for a little bit, like whatever it is that you can do. There's so many healing things. I mean, is it a sauna for 20 minutes a day? Is it a cold shower? I mean, I know that doesn't sound pleasant, and I hate cold water, but you'd be so proud of me, O'Day. I've been actually getting in the ice.
In the ice plunge?
I have been.
Oh man,
I've done it about 5 or 6 times now.
That's good.
Cold showers.
That's good. For me, it's more mental. I don't know the benefits. I keep hearing about cold. I do the plunge. I don't do the showers because I like. Man, I grew up in Kingston, Jamaica. Well, we grew up with no hot water. All right, and I'm not trying to get a cold shower and bring me back to those days
for you.
To those days where I'm like, oh, this sucks.
I hate it all.
Came to America and I'm like, holy shit, there's hot water here. I'm not going back to cold showers. Never.
I like scorching hot showers. Like
Women
I get out of that
do.
lobster, like I'm a lobster, like red, and I love it.
What is with that? I've seen so many.
I don't know. My man can't handle it either. He's like, oh my God. He's like, you're burning yourself.
That's why I can't take a shower with another woman. It's like, I can't do it. I need my shower to be like lukewarm. I'm not trying to be like Larry the Lobster.
That's me when I get out of the shower for sure.
That just tells you though the threshold comparing women to men, like that you guys have a higher pain tolerance than we do.
But I would think that might be a thing after having kids and my son was a at-home birth. We did that at home.
Damn. Yeah, y'all are gangsters, cool. Man. Y'all are gangsters.
You know what it is? It's all in the minds. I know people say that. There's a lot of fear-mongering that goes in around that, but it's all in the minds.
I love it.
Like, it's science.
Yes.
It's science. We just produce endorphins. You feel good.
Oh, man, I love it. Well, Miesha, it was thank you so much for coming on my show. I really appreciate talking to you, as always. Tell our listeners where they can find you and where they can find, we already did where they can find Desert Moon Wellness.
Yes.
So tell our listeners where they can find you on the social.
You guys can just find me at Miesha Tate, but just remember, it's I before E except after C. That rule also applies to my name. Some people get that spelled bad. Like that video, when you guys pulled that video up and I was MEI, I was like, well, they spelled my name wrong, so they can kick rocks. But that's it, and I'm really passionate. I'm really excited for this next chapter. I'm going to do some pretty cool things. And I hope to be working eventually on the other side. You know how Claudia Gadelia is kind of graduated into being on the other side?
Yes.
Like, that's what I want to do. I want to work with athletes. I want to work with people. I want to work with women. Yeah, because women, we're complicated. Like, we've got a lot of things going on. We got a lot of hormones and all this stuff. I'm sure you've ever... Yeah, I see that reaction. You're like, yes, tell me about it. I know. Well, what happens when we're not operating in our hormones is we get a little crazy. Go figure. But this world's not very kind
I'm glad
to those,
you said it. I'm glad you said it.
Right? I could say it. But women, there is a better way. If you're feeling crazy, it's likely not because you're crazy. Some of y'all might be crazy. Some of y'all might be crazy. But if you're just feeling like you've just lost a grip on it and this is not how you want to be or how you want to feel, then chances are you are operating outside of like your hormonal, like being able to support your hormones basically. And when we do that as women, it really takes a toll on us. Like for you guys, every day is like Groundhog's Day.
Yes.
You pretty much have a 24-hour hormone cycle. You get testosterone every 15 minutes.
Sometimes
I get it once a month.
Oh, that's crazy.
Isn't that wild?
That's wild because sometimes I'm like, I need less testosterone because like, I'm just like, I want to go hump that tree over there.
Man, and testosterone, you'll know when your girl's when she's having the testosterone high too, because that sex drive is going to be way up there. It's probably matching yours. But then the other time of the month, she's going to be like,
I don't know if it'll ever match mine.
I just want to watch Netflix and eat chocolate.
I don't know if it'll ever match mine, ever.
I don't know. Maybe you haven't met your match yet for sure, but it's complicated for women. So anyways, I want to be a voice for that. And eventually, I'm going to be hosting my own biohacking conferences. I want to have my own wellness retreats.
And you will.
I will.
You will.
That is
100%.
that is written down. It is it's in
I
stone.
see it, man.
We're doing it.
Well, Miesha, again, thank you so much. It was a pleasure to have you.
Yes, thank you.
Guys, Miesha, the Great Tate. I know it's Cupcake, but I think she deserves to be the Great Tate because she's worked her ass off and is deserving of that title. So, my name is Ode Osborne, UFC flyweight, and this is Wagwan with Ode Osborne. And today, we are out.